guys, and welcome to the Author Talk podcast. I'm your host, pariscavanah, and today I've got a super duper special guest with me.
Baba Booey!
Baba Booey, the one and only Baba Booey.
Yep.
Yes, this is...
AJ. I am Paris's brother.
Yep, one of two.
Yes.
And AJ also is into creative things, more specifically being a filmmaker.
Yep.
And directing, and he's recently been getting into music.
Yes, and sports broadcasting.
All
storytelling, so...
Holy cow.
Big storyteller guy, you know?
Yep, so basically what we're going to do today is we're going to be more or less comparing the process of writing a book in its simplest forms to writing screenplays, because they're both storytelling mediums, but they are almost polar opposite, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, one of the first things I wanted to ask you are, what are your storytelling limits?
Budget. No.
Budget?
Budget's the main one. So when you're making a film, if you're like, oh, I have an idea of a big dragon coming, and you got your hero killing him, you know, you can't do that. As long as you have like $2 billion, you can't do that.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Because like for the Hypernova series, for example, I've got like all of these different wars that happen. Like book 2 has like 3 or 4 different war scenes. But then if you're writing a screenplay, and I was trying to write that into a screenplay, they could be like, we can't, we don't have the budget for that. Interesting.
And another limit is like actors as well.
Okay.
Because you're not talking to like some person who like directed the Avengers, or you're not talking to George Lucas here. Talking to a independent filmmaker.
Right.
So it's like you want to make your character an old man.
Okay.
You gotta actually know an old man. You can't be like, I mean, you could make a post about, oh yeah, I need an old man for my movie, but you can get some pretty fucking weird old man.
Yeah, of course, no, you definitely can. If you're not careful.
My name's Johnny.
You're gonna do the casting call, and you're just gonna get like a bunch of homeless people on crack cocaine.
Yeah.
I'd love to be in your movie.
Sign me up.
Sign me up.
But no, yeah. So what
$50 per scene, I'm down.
I'm not sure if you talked about this, but write characters that remind you of real people.
Yes.
That's a big one. So, but for indie filmmaking, that is literally like the biggest thing you have to do, because if I'm making a character, I gotta know like you, because I know you act, and I know a few other people act in my movies. So I have to build characters who they can play. Okay. So it's more like what will Paris do in this situation and stuff. It's very different. You got a lot of limits. But that's one thing that I find fun about filmmaking is that you have all these limits that you have to kind of craft yourself and be like, how can we make an effective story with this low budget, you know?
Interesting. Like like the fun part is almost that you're forced to work around it. Yeah. Meanwhile, I think one of the funnest things about writing is that you have limitless capabilities to write anything you want.
Yes.
Right? So that's so crazy. Like speaking about limits, page limits. Like you can have like a 200 to like 800 page book and fill it with whatever you see fit. But then for screenplays, like, do they put limitations on or do you put limitations on yourself for how long it's allowed to be? Oh, yeah. So like, what's like the max amount of pages that you would want a screenplay to be? Oh. Like, you wouldn't want it to go past that.
Well, for screenwriting, you kind of view it as every page is a minute.
Every page is a minute?
Yes. Oh. So my millisecond script was 10 pages. It was 10 minutes. Unborn was 30 pages. It was like 35 minutes.
That's very interesting. I like
So
that.
depending on how quick you want your momentum to go, movies are a lot more about momentum. I guess books are too. Yeah. It's about when they have you hooked and you're kind of rolling, and you kind of do lose pages when you're like, they fight. Okay. Or whatever like that, but I don't know, it's tough to explain. I guess whoever you're working for, like the production, if they're like, this movie has to be, if you're Star Wars, they're like, this movie has to be 2 hours and 20 minutes exactly. And then you have to chop up everything and
crazy.
But movies, it's not like with authors, how pages are the final result. Yes. With scripts, you can write literally, sometimes you just write as much as story as you want. Okay. And then you chop it up. If you're filming and you're watching it, you're like, no, I don't like this. So you throw it away.
Okay, so you're almost saying that, like, as the process goes, like, a
Mm-hmm.
screenplay is never, like, definite. Like, it can change
Oh,
and
for
evolve
sure.
as it goes. So it's not something like, here's the screenplay, we're sticking with this all the way until the movie is, like, completely finished. It's something that, like, evolves and changes as you go, and you throw things in as...
Well, yeah, the script for a movie is more like where you need to go, I guess. Like, the movie is where you need to go, and then, like, I'm trying to think about the... you can go in different directions, I guess.
Okay.
Like, if you're on Google Maps, I don't know, and you're like, let's take a shortcut, you can just chop that out. You know what
I see
mean?
what you're saying. Almost like where you've got, like, the point where you start, this is the destination, and you've got, like, these routes that you're allowed to take, but they all eventually lead to your, like,
well, however you feel, if you're trying to avoid traffic. So let's say traffic is like when your movie gets boring. You're like, okay, and you're on the highway now. You're picking up some speed. You don't want to slam on your brakes or go grrr and fucking crash. You know? It's kind of. I'm not sure if this is really working, but you kind of get the idea.
No, I'm totally understanding the metaphor. Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
That's cool. The next one I have is how important are the details? Because as an author, the details are like they are important because you have zero visual whatsoever. Like, the book is your only way to envision the environment and what the person or your protagonist is feeling. So, like, I personally don't like going too overboard with the details because I find them to be monotonous and boring.
Right.
But then with authors, you don't want to completely cut out details because then that's just cruddy writing, right? So how important are details for screenplays?
Okay. Not really that important. Well, important in a way that everyone understands it.
Okay.
Like, because remember what I said about each page being a minute?
Yes.
You don't want to be like, and he's wearing this, and now he looks to the left. And
right.
He's at that. That detail is more of the actor's job.
Okay, because, like, that makes sense because for screenplays, like, if you have a person wearing a certain outfit, that's just costumes. That's not something that really needs to be put in a screenplay. Or you don't have to put in, his face, like, scrunched with, like, rage or discomfort because that's the actor's job. So I guess that you wouldn't really need that.
Yeah, like, let me show you, like, one of my favorite movies. They're just... We see they all wear sneakers.
They all wear sneakers.
What kind of sneakers? Is it blah, 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 blah? That's like, okay, now the props will, like, highlight that.
Interesting. Yeah.
I want them to wear white Adidas sneakers because it'll complement the color more on screen because color is also a huge thing in filmmaking where you're like, we're using blues and magentas for this kind of feel. Oh, cool. So they have to wear this color.
Okay.
So in the script, it doesn't matter that much. They're wearing, like, sneakers. So it means, I guess, they're kind of a little bit more casual. And then as they walk away from the car, in sync with the track. So we're talking about music. Yeah. You're never, in a book, you're never, like, in the music, in the track. You can feel this.
Yes, for sure. Like, if in a book, if I was describing music, like, I think in the very first chapter of book 1, I described that he's listening to blues. But then I go into detail explaining what the blues sounds like. But then obviously you don't need to put that in here.
No, because
that is he's listening to music.
For the music composer.
It's for the people who make soundtracks.
For an author, I feel like they just do everything.
Yes, we do.
But as a director, you're kind of like, or a screenwriter, you're like, yeah, they're wearing sneakers, and then it's in track with the sync. So now you're like, now it's sound and music that highlights that. Okay, that is my job now.
Cool.
And then again, you can just have... Again, it's awesome. It's like... Will you ever see that in a book? No. You just...
Yeah, it's not like at the finale of my book, I'm like, X and Y save the world. It was awesome. It was great, guys. You should have been there.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And, that's, I gotta say, that's the most important thing about screenwriting is just getting your point across.
Okay. It's almost like cut to the chase.
Yeah, relying, like, as you're reading it, you're, like, watching the movie in your head, and, like, the people that are involved have to be like, okay, I gotta work on this.
I see. Yeah. So I have, do other people have a say in the writing and creative process of a screenplay? So as a screenwriter, like, if we're talking about a bigger set, I was just curious about this. Is it the screenwriter who comes up with the ideas and writes them? Or do they take, like, orders from, like, a director or a producer or something? And then they're just the hands on the keyboard.
Well, the director, I think, it makes the It depends.
Okay. Okay.
If like the producers, I think the producers have like, so if it's like Sony, going to Spider-Man, I feel like they do more of a discussion.
Interesting.
So
where
like,
everybody's on the same page.
If you got like Sony and someone's directing Spider-Man, it's like,
because I remember
you got to put Venom in this or something like that, you know?
Oh, I see. Yeah. Well, because another reason I was asking is because when we were working on Unborn, for example, I kind of took on the role of writing the screenplay, but then you were telling me like the scenes that you wanted. Yeah. And it was like a little bit of a mixed bag where every once in a while, like, because I had created the characters, every once in a while I'd be like, oh, like maybe they could do this and that. But for the most part, it was just you telling me what I was writing. And I was just curious if that's kind of usually
sometimes the writers write scenes. Usually the writer comes up with some
they do, yeah. So they're kind of partial.
But sometimes it's the producer's story, and sometimes you have no say because the producer is literally paying you. So the producer, like, I want to make this movie. I'm going to hire the director to direct it. I'm going to hire a writer. I have the final say. Sometimes it's a little different for indie stuff. If someone's directing it and they have the idea, they have like all rights, you know? It all depends on who is agreed upon to work on it.
Right on.
But yeah, if any other people have a say in a process,
yeah, because you're making it sound like screenwriting is definitely a group project. It's
for sure.
It's not like I'm the author, I'm the writer.
Well, like if you're a director and you got someone doing concept art or doing props, and they could be like, yo, I really think they should be wearing this instead because I feel like it'll just do the story justice. And the director's like, yeah, that's better than my idea. Yeah. Agreed. It's that's like cool. The director just kind of sculpts it. Okay. And you got their workers just working on it, you know?
That makes sense. Yeah. That's very cool. So what I was going to ask you is what makes writing screenplays fun for you?
All right. So at first I'm not a writer. I didn't enjoy writing. I enjoyed like film. So I enjoyed like the art of like camera movement and
more things that were like visual.
I wasn't really like a good actor. I didn't really enjoy acting. I think I mostly just like enjoyed editing and mostly just action scenes, but I enjoy like thrilling stuff, like something that has like a tempo.
Okay, cool.
And you like
something something that's getting the heart pounding when you're watching it.
Yeah, exactly. But I just wrote screenplays because I do enjoy writing screenplays now. Because you have all the power, I guess.
Yes.
To kind of like understand where like the conflict is going and
for sure. It like instead of it all being up in here for you, it's kind of like putting it down on paper, like almost makes it, it's here now type of thing. It gives you something to go off of. Yeah.
But mostly when I write screenplays, I just like close my eyes and just like picture the movie. And I try to picture like the sounds where the horns are going and the music and yeah, it's fun. The screenplay definitely doesn't do what my vision is justice. But again, you get something down.
That's all that matters.
And then you show it to someone, and they're like, I don't know.
Yeah, you can't make or edit what's not on paper, so
exactly.
If it's there, you're good.
Well, no one's going to be reading the screenplay of the movie, so they're going to be watching it.
Yeah, I guess that screenplays aren't really for the public.
No.
That's one thing that I guess I need to wrap my brain around. I totally wasn't thinking about that. Because when you're writing as an author, you're writing with the intention that everybody you sell it to is going to see it. But with a screenplay, it's just for you and the crew.
Yeah.
So you can write things like it was awesome.
Yeah, pick a favorite movie of yours. Like I'm sure you haven't like read the screenplay of it.
No, definitely not. I haven't read any screenplays, actually. I feel like I should. Maybe I'll read the Baby Driver one that you showed me because apparently it was awesome.
I do enjoy reading screenplays because it's kind of cool to see how it's all put together and stuff.
Yeah. How long does it take to like for you personally to get a screenplay like written and quote unquote done before you're ready to start filming?
I say depends on how if I'm like holing, going for it. If it's a 10-minute one, like a week or two. But if it's a longer movie, it takes way more time.
For sure it would.
Because you have to worry about like continuity and stuff. I'm sure it's like kind of like similar to an author, but not as much.
Yes. Yeah, like because all authors also are very different because it all just depends on your workflow. And also if you're self-published or with a publishing company. Because when you're with a publishing company, then they put deadlines for your writing. So then you might be forced to get it done in 6 months. But self-publishers, sometimes they'll take like 6, 7, 10, 15 years to write a book. But for me, it takes me a year. So for me to write a 50,000-page novel, it's 1 year.
And I just feel like it just takes as much time as it needs to be.
For sure.
I guess.
Yep. Yeah. 100%. I agree.
But yeah, if it's a simple story, a week or two. If it's like, if you're skipping pages and you're going like huge action scenes, like I'm sure in Star Wars, I watched the documentary yesterday, so it's fresh in my head how they made it. And for like a Clone Wars fight scene, it's just literally like all hell breaks loose.
Is that what it says?
Just one sentence.
All hell breaks loose.
And then they're like, okay, I guess it's just a war now.
Wow, that's crazy.
So and then it's like 2 minutes of just war.
All hell breaks loose. It was awesome.
You'll never. Yeah, it was awesome. All hell breaks loose. Mm-hmm.
What about formatting? Because obviously the formatting of scripts are entirely different to that of novels, which are like paragraphs.
Yes,
for the most part.
So let me just pull up my screenplay here. And I'll say one more time, it's got to be like spaced out, like you're watching the movie.
Interesting.
Like it's you mostly have like, I'm not sure if you can see that well.
Yes, we can.
Okay. So yeah, you have your like details of like interior, house, night.
Okay.
Like what kind of day is it? What fields are going on? You know.
Wow. So just in like this one small sentence, that's the environment. That's all you need to know, really.
That's it. That's all you need to know is the environment, and then like the set decorators and people will kind of just paint the picture for you.
That's crazy.
But yeah, and then it just goes right into the action. Shot of a record player, the camera's panning out. You're mostly the camera is a character too. The music's a character, and you really just text what you what the feel is, because it's more about like the feel, you know. And then obviously with like, I'm sure, the dialogue is much different too.
Bro, can someone turn this garbage off?
This is my fault.
That's what I say when people play country music.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's supposed to be real as well. Like, it's not person 5, person 6, person 5.
Like, you don't even know the name, right?
Yeah, that's
and
cool.
man shakes his head off, and now they're in an action scene. And this little chunk down there isn't just a full-on action scene there.
What? That's very cool.
Yeah. The camera glides in the house as Reaper is taking everyone out, one by one. There's one left, and there you go. You have the action scene done.
Action scene. Which is funny because when I write lots of action scenes in my books. I love it. I love writing action scenes. And it's funny that you have one paragraph for an entire action scene. I've had moments where I've had an entire chapter dedicated. Like in book 2, there's the Aronevian War, where you've got the Raiders, which are like the equivalent of space pirates, fighting the two main characters, Finn and Ron, and the entire Aronevian militia. So you have to go through the process of explaining what the lights look like as the bullets like whiz past and explode in the sky, and what do the ships look like, and what does the ground look like, and what's the air, and and then you can just write it in one paragraph. I'm almost a little jealous.
Well, it's like, you write it there and you're like, okay, now I gotta, like, if you're really like doing that much detail, you can. I'm sure there's screenplayers out there. I'm not too sure how many. But the work is after.
For sure.
So it's like, all right, now I gotta, you detailing what they're, also POV. I know those books are like, and I'm thinking this, and I look this way, and I look down, and blah, 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 blah. That is kind of like an actor's job. It's like there's like tiny little departments, but an author, you're just the author.
Wow, yeah.
Right? So
for sure.
And you kind of, as a director, if you kind of have to understand acting too. So it's like he's feeling this, he kind of looks this way. And you kind of let the actor have fun too, because other people can kind of like spice up the movie and make it the way the movie is.
That's cool.
Like with Star Wars, I'm using the Star Wars example again. An amazing sound, amazing script, and the composition with the music.
I agree.
It all comes together. All these people bring everything together to make something great.
Wow.
And that's what I love about screenplay writing. And
just like films in general, it's such a team process.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, as an author, you got 2 people on your team. You got you and you got your editor.
Yep.
Especially when you're self-published, that's your team. Those are the only people you deal with is you, yourself, and then just whoever's editing your book, right? So that's like, what a monumental difference. It almost feels like writing a book is more of like a personal journey, as opposed to being a screenplay writer. Is you're dealing with and writing for a whole array of people, and the purpose of the screenplay is to kind of tell the story, but it seems like it's mostly, like I said, to give other people the pointers of like where the story is going, so everybody's on the same page.
Yep.
That makes sense.
It's kind of like a group effort.
That's very cool.
And very similar with the books and screenplays. They all serve the responsibility of telling a great story.
Yes.
And that's all that matters, because that's why some books can make great movies or not.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
The back pedal, though.
Yeah.
I meant the books are better than themselves. Always, I meant.
Oh,
sorry.
But yeah, it's all about just like great story, and if you have a great story, it's just different ways of telling a story, and both of them are great in both ways.
Yeah, both in their own interesting ways. I agree. That sounds like a nice way to wrap it up.
Yeah.
All right.
Little conclusion there.
So AJ, do you have any social media links or places where you'd like the lovely viewers and listeners to go?
I have an Instagram.
Holy shiitake
mushrooms.
There's no way. What's your Instagram?
I have AJ CAVANAH, which is my personal one, and then I have Alexander_Jaden.
Perfect.
Which is my music stuff.
Nice. So if you guys are on YouTube, then the links are going to be down below. If this is on Spotify, please look them up. Okay, it'll also be in the description of this episode, so you can go check them out, give them a follow. And as always, all of my book links are down below in the description. Please check it out, and I appreciate all of your guys' love and support. We're so happy that you guys are here.
And thanks for having me, Paris.
You're welcome. Anytime.
Yep.
Have an awesome day, guys. Stay amazing. Bye.